Abbie Eaton here, and today I'm at Bridgestone European Proving Ground and I'm going to have my first experience of the Fisker Ocean. Today we're going to work on chassis development and fine-tune those extra bits. Can't wait.
So how was the drive?
I really enjoyed it, and you know what, I'm really impressed with actually how far the car is already. I think the team have done a really good job to give us, already such a good platform to work with. Obviously, the last couple of days we've been working on chassis and a bit more kind of dynamic development, which I think is going to lift it, another step. But I think where we're at the moment is a good balance of you've got the performance and the dynamic element from, the stiffness of the chassis and other bits and bobs, but actually, it's still comfortable enough to drive on the road normally, and the general things you'll find on roads like potholes and bits and bobs like that. Actually, you don't get shaken to pieces at all. It's quite comfortable on this, but I think it's a really good place for the car to be in already.
What do you think about? You've driven so many different cars, and of course now coming into EVs generally, how do you feel about the performance? Because of course, on one hand, we talked about it, we were in a car where it was actually not as fast as this, but it had so much noise that you almost feel it was fast. Yeah. But of course now you're in vehicles where they're so quiet. So how does that feel like for you? I think
initially it was probably a little bit strange. I'm all about horsepower and noise and all the kind of senses really, and with an EV, quite a lot of that gets taken away, but actually in a weird way it focuses you onto the driving itself. You can't ever jump in an EV, put your foot down and not smile. Like, that's always going to happen. I think there's obviously going to be an element of kind of change in the world on people that are die-hard ICE fans and noise and all the drama, but I think there's a massive change generally of people wanting to drive these things, just for the power more than anything.
We might have to put these people on some island somewhere then.
I know, yeah, ship them off. I'll come and have a drive of this with me, and we'll show how it is. What's your thoughts on trying to keep it as kind of performance-based as possible without sacrificing other stuff? Are you conflicted still, or having driven this new version?
It's tough because there's these moments where you really want to drive fast and you want to have fun. Yeah. And then when you step back, you realize it's probably less than 1% of the time you drive. Yeah. When you go on public roads. So today I was really thinking I don't want to, sacrifice too much for having that extra last edge of performance driving, because in the end of the day it's an SUV, and maybe we get that little more edge if we can in the last fine-tuning. And of course we also, as you mentioned, we need to get the final power in there as well, which will give it that last fun feeling. And then as we talked about, if we can be allowed to turn off the ESP, at least when we go out in the snow or something like that.
Yeah, the boss, come on.
The engineer said we shouldn't do it, but I think we need to be able to do that.
Yes, right answer.
We need to be able to do it. One of the things I thought was really cool and I felt really good about today was when I went out and did the damping exercise or whatever you call it, where you drive over all the uneven surfaces. I was surprised how well it actually does, and that's that fine balance. Do you think we're where we need to be, or should we do it a little stiffer, a little softer, or what's your thought?
I think at the moment we're at a good kind of middle part. No one likes to drive on uneven surfaces like they are right here, and the guys that end up developing these systems to cope with it, hat off to them, because our job is to test it to the extremes, and relatively if the car handles really well at much higher speed, then it's going to be even better at the kind of normal speeds that are used on the roads. And obviously when you're driving on the road within those kind of safe parameters, generally things don't go wrong, but for the times that something does go wrong, and perhaps on ice or some oil or something like that, where actually you do get the car sideways, you want to know that the car is capable of keeping you safe and not scaring you, even with accelerating out the corner. Something as simple as that. You don't need to be going at 130 miles an hour for things to go wrong. That's where we come in, to make sure it's safe for everyone else to drive normally on the road.